Welcome to Sacrilegious Discourse.
For this is what the Sovereign Lord says.
Why do you need prophets to tell people who you are and what you want?
If you can justify everything that the God of the Bible has done, then you can justify any of your behavior.
A lot of this mentality is trickling into what is now mainstream right-wing Christianity.
I am capable of empathy greater than this God of the Bible.
This is a Bible that they tell kids. This is the good Lord. This is the good book. He is fantasizing about murder, mass murder.
Head over to sacrilegiousdiscourse.com right now to find out how to leave us a review or support us on Patreon.
Hey there, sinners and saints. It's your favorite Bible-bashing duo from Sacrilegious Discourse, and we need your help.
That's right, folks. We're raising funds for some heavenly equipment and a studio that doesn't sound like it's in the depths of hell.
Our current setup, let's just say it's more apocalypse than audiophile.
So if you want to hear us dissect the Bible without the background noise of demonic squirrels, chip in a few bucks.
We're aiming for $5,000 to upgrade our audio and build a studio worthy of blasphemous banter.
Donate today and help us spread the good word of atheism.
You can find a link right on our homepage, sacrilegiousdiscourse.com. Every dollar counts.
Even if it's from your collection plate. Husband,
Wife!
do you know what we're doing today?
Well, we almost made it on Saturday, but not quite. We're doing this kind of late because there was a lot to cover, but I think we're doing a Q&A.
We're doing a Q&A, and it's not on Saturday, and I'm really upset about it because I wanted to sing Q&A Saturday, but instead I can't.
Because it's Sunday.
It's Sunday.
Yeah.
God damn it.
We missed it by like 50 minutes.
I know.
We're doing this late. But there was a lot of shit to cover. You did a lot of research.
There was so much.
Yeah.
There was a lot.
To be fair, it's not our fault. God's stupid.
Well,
and he says a lot. There's a lot of crazy stuff.
We also had to take an hour to stop because the United States bombed Iran, which we were not a fan of, and then we had to, see what Trump had to say about it, which wasn't a lot, but we were like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Well, I mean, we those of you who have been with us a long time know that we pay attention to politics a lot, sometimes more than others, depends on how things are going, but it is something that we do care about and pay attention to. So we definitely, when we found out about the Iran bombings, that we wanted to see what the response was going to be, which was short and clipped. Yeah. So nothing much to report there. No. But that's not what we're here about.
No, we're here to cover chapters 12, 13, and 14 of Zechariah.
Yeah, and which we've just finished. So this isn't a wrap up or anything. There was a lot to cover in this Q&A.
Yeah.
So this is just the Q&A for 12, 13, and 14.
Yes.
All right. Are you ready to do this?
I am ready. I hope you are.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So we are doing the Q&A for chapters 12, 13, and 14 of Zechariah, and there is a ton of information.
Okay.
We had so many questions.
We did. We had a lot of questions.
And part of the problem, too, is that, we read chapter 12 quite some time ago at this point. Because, we keep having things and stuff.
Right.
So do you even remember what chapter 12 was, about or whatever?
I don't specifically know.
There was a pierced one. Somebody got pierced.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a cup and a stone.
This is where we got into, the
mountains.
blatant Jesus-y sounding shit.
Yeah. So, okay. I'm going to just cover my notes and then jump in as you see fit, okay?
Sure.
All right. So, in the first part of chapter 12, okay, this chapter relates to an invasion that will be made on the inhabitants of Judea,
okay,
and Jerusalem,
in
the latter ages of the world, sometime after the restoration and settlement of the Jews in their own land.
Okay.
So this is a prophecy of what's to come.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
It also describes in very magnificent terms that God is in their favor. He's their cheerleader. He's so excited for them.
Right.
For a minute.
Yeah.
For a minute.
Right.
Okay. From this, the prophet proceeds in the latter part of the chapter to describe the spiritual mercies of God to converting his people.
Okay.
Now, there's questions about that.
Yeah, I would say there would be.
And then he gives a very big account of deep sorrow of the people, that when they're brought to a sense of what their great sin is, he compares it to the sorrow of a parent for his firstborn and only son. And that we were like, gag me.
Yeah.
Don't make me barf.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, this fucking book read like a checklist of Jesus.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into that because actually, no, it really fucking didn't in some places. We think it did, but it didn't.
It just sounds like it. Like,
right.
A lot of the things sound very...
Depends on the translation.
Sure.
And the more Jewish that you get, the less that it sounds like the way we read it.
I'm quite certain that's correct because,
All right. So, in the very beginning of this chapter, God does like this crazy magic shit, okay, where he like is a supernatural agent and just makes shit happen, okay?
Okay.
So on occasions, God used Gentile nations, meaning non-Jewish nations, to punish his people Israel. But if his desire was to fight for Israel, no enemy attack could be successful. Okay?
Yeah.
On the occasion that Zechariah speaks of in chapter 12, God will strengthen his people to overthrow the armies that besiege Jerusalem. Okay, so he's going to toughen them up or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, the Jewish leaders acknowledge that above all, God is the cause of Jerusalem's victory, not themselves, not men. Okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read a couple verses here. Okay. Starting at verse 2. I'm going to make Jerusalem a cup that sends all the surrounding peoples reeling. Judah will be besieged as well as Jerusalem. On that day, when all the nations of the earth are gathered against her, I will make Jerusalem an immovable rock for all the nations. All who try to move it will injure themselves. On that day, I will strike every horse with panic and its rider with madness, declares the Lord. I will keep a watchful eye over Judah, but I will blind all the horses of the nations.
Yeah, he's going to protect them by making everybody else go crazy with cups.
Right? Cups and rocks and blind horses. And
sounds like a plan.
Right? So on a coming day, Jerusalem will intoxicate and stupefy the surrounding nations. Okay.
They're sending out the bourbon.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. This supposed cup, though, is symbolic of divine judgment. And we have seen that more than once through our reading already. It's often portrayed as intoxicating. Okay.
Yeah.
There was similar usage in Isaiah chapter 51 and Jeremiah chapter 25 of people becoming intoxicated and that led to them losing.
Got it.
Whatever battle.
Okay.
All the nations drink the cup and stagger.
Got it. Yeah.
If Jerusalem will be a cup of drunkenness to all the surrounding peoples, it will be a heavy stone, a great burden for all the people, presenting a problem that cannot be solved, as all who would attempt to heave it away will surely be cut into pieces.
Well, they're intoxicated, so that's going to be harder. Have you ever tried to move a giant boulder when you're intoxicated? It's not fun.
I have tried to move myself when I'm intoxicated, and that never goes well.
Right, yeah, no.
Never.
No.
So this immovable rock also echoes Isaiah chapter 8 and Daniel chapter 2, where God or Israel is described as a stumbling block or an unshakable stone. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we've seen that before too.
Got it.
Now, rabbinic sources sometimes read this chapter as a whole as a messianic war, but interpretations do vary. Okay. 11th century scholars focused on the events being future judgment against the nations, not necessarily as messianic. Yeah. Okay. So it wasn't always this whole, there's a Messiah coming.
That's interesting.
Right?
So like there are some sects of Judaism that don't even believe that there's a Messiah in the future.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Some Midrashim see this as a reference to Gog and Magog, a cataclysmic battle of good versus evil before the ultimate redemption that's described in Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So it depends on the translation and the interpretation of the Hebrew as to whether or not there's a Messiah or whether it's, who's being pierced. Is it a thing that's pierced? Is it God that's pierced?
Sure.
Is it a betrayal?
Well, and I think that was one of our biggest hangups on these chapters. They are very, very confusing.
They are vague.
Yeah.
And ambiguous.
Well, and they're kind of all over the place, too.
They are.
There's no...
it's not cohesive at all.
It's nice that God's protecting his people here, but later on, he's killing 2/3 of them and saving the other, and the parents are killing their kids. Holy fuck.
It's all over the place.
Come on, man.
We can view this today, of course, as nothing more than mythic nationalistic literature designed to reinforce identity and hope in a period of imperial oppression.
Yeah.
And that's the way I choose to read it.
No, and I think that's the way it should be read, because that's exactly what it is. It's not, there's no magical powers here. There's no, this is a pump your team up. And God is the way that they do that, especially when you are kind of a shit upon society, right? The Jewish people in those days were kind of in the crossroads of every other major society in the area. Mm-hmm. And so they were constantly kind of being torn asunder. And,
it's amazing that they were able to hold on to any cohesive sense of self through all of these tribulations, through all of these being conquered by so many other nations, and yet they still maintained a sense of unity in themselves.
Well, and I think that speaks largely, that speaks highly as to how this text has persevered through the years, right?
And that is worthy of respect, honestly.
Right, because it was
for the people.
Yeah, because it was something that was meant to draw their culture together and their people together, and it's held on to at least that. The bringing people together aspect of it, it's held on to that even through Christianity and everything else, right? That's very much what this text is about, is a oneness with everybody else in your group, right? Yeah. And I feel like that is the one thread that does seem to hold true throughout Christianity and Judaism as a whole. So.
And I think that's why I find Christianity so annoying, because I just feel like it tried to end this beautiful thing. You know what I mean? Judaism wasn't necessarily the best religion out there at the time, but it certainly wasn't the worst. They weren't out there sacrificing people much. They were mostly doing animals, right? When all the people around them were sacrificing people, they had switched over to animal sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
And it was still very paternalistic and male oriented and all that. But I felt like there was some progress that was going to be made. And then this chapter is right when it went bad. And I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it in a minute. You'll see why I think that.
I guess I don't necessarily agree with you. I think that honestly, it feels to me like there's times when the Jewish people were kind of torn apart from their land, right? And then they had to come back together, and that's where a lot of this strong language started coming back in. And but through it all, it felt like it was kind of always angling to a point where the powerful are taking more power through this, right? The prophets and the priests and they always kept garnering more power for themselves. That's why we see the threads of the priests especially get interwoven back into the earlier text, because this idea of giving to the church leadership and donations and things like that, they started becoming part of the narrative. And even after they got back from Babylon, I feel like a lot of the texts start kind of going back to that thread. I feel like it was always kind of a way to, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying.
You're right. I think I'm probably romanticizing it and viewing it through a lens of hope, how it could have progressed had Christianity not come along and usurped it. You know what I mean? I suppose.
But I feel like it was always about holding power.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I don't disagree with that. I don't know. Like, I look at how it was in the earliest times and how they very much were like, we got to take care of the poor. We got to take care of each other. We got to take care of, like, it was very community driven, and it was very trying to recognize, like, what they're starting over every 7 years.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it was trying to give everybody a fair boost up.
No, I think any movement usually starts well intentioned, right? But then people who see
you could stop at people,
right? Yeah, no, I really, you're right. I mean, but people see what they can get out of it, and then it becomes something else,
right? And you just can't ever get away from that.
Yeah,
the greed. No, because if people are involved, it's gonna suck.
And even some of them may not even know they're being greedy. They're just they're like, this is my right. This is who I am. I'm due this, whatever.
Yeah. So nationalism much? But.
Nationalism and birthright. Like, like the prophets or the priests, especially the priest class is born into the priesthood, right?
Yeah.
So like they're birthrighted into this idea of power for themselves given to them by this God, and it's their duty to make that thing more prominent in their society so that they can hold on to that power.
You said duty.
But that emphasizes that whole power structure of what religion is. So.
No, you're right. You're totally right. Again, I think I'm just probably romanticizing like how it could have been, because I want to believe that like it started out as this beautiful thing that like got fucked over, and you're right, it didn't, and it wasn't.
I don't think there's been a single chapter where we've been like, wow, that maybe like one psalm where we were like, wow, that was beautiful. The whole thing was beautiful. I think that was the one that was written like back around the same time as Genesis, where it was like all nature and like didn't even really fit into Psalms.
Probably.
But yeah, like there's not been one hardly that I think we haven't criticized for some shittiness.
Totally.
So. Yeah,
I wish better, I guess. I wish for better, and then I like to think that
I wish for better too, and I see better as secularism and
no, I totally agree. I totally agree.
No gods.
No, totally. I'm right on board with you. I'm admitting that I romanticized it because it's easier.
Sure.
And because I'm childish. So moving on through this chapter 12.
Yeah.
The Jewish fighters who will lead the attack against the enemy will not be from Jerusalem, but from the country areas around.
Okay.
And this will prevent the people of Jerusalem from boasting that they have been responsible for the destruction of the enemy.
Okay.
Fitting honor is given to their brave brothers from the country. All, however, will realize that God is really the one who has saved Jerusalem. So it's going to be some of their neighbors that help them beat their neighbors.
Got it.
I
guess they're like, it wasn't us, it was our neighbors. But no, I mean, but really it was God.
Yeah, totally God.
Yeah. Like, we don't have to give them too much credit.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to read verse 6. Okay. On that day, I will make the clans of Judah like a fire pot in a wood pile, like a flaming torch among sheaves. They will consume all the surrounding peoples right and left, but Jerusalem will remain intact in her place. Sure. We were just like, what? What this basically comes to is that God will deliver Israel not only through his direct work, but also through blessing and empowering both the governors and inhabitants of Jerusalem. They will all be, quote unquote, supernaturally empowered by God to defend the city. And then God promises a day when the weakest in Jerusalem will be as mighty as King David, who was renowned for his fighting ability, courage, and success.
Wow. They really have the power.
Yeah.
I have the power.
By the power of Grayskull. Yeah. Okay. So that was the first half of chapter 12. Okay. So moving on.
Yeah.
This is where we get into that fucking pierced one stuff. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So God's people will have won a great victory, but the victory will have been costly. And as they mourn their dead, the people will be humbled to a new attitude of sorrow for their wrongdoing, and they will cry to God for mercy.
Okay.
Now let's read verse 10.
Yeah.
And I will pour out on the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem a spirit of grace and supplication. I want you to hold in the back of your mind that phrase, a spirit of grace. Okay?
Yeah.
They will look on me, the one they have pierced, and they will mourn for him as one mourns for an only child, and grieve bitterly for him as one grieves for a firstborn son. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, and that's where people are like, totally Jesus.
I mean, sounds dead on, you know.
But anyways, we're not there yet. Like, this Jesus hadn't been there yet.
No, I know.
Okay,
I
so
know.
this is still
But they
Old
love
Testament.
prophecies, right?
The Christians do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as Jerusalem is magically, supernaturally, whatever, defended, and the Spirit is poured out on the nation, they will turn to God, the pierced one.
Mm-hmm.
They will turn away from their trust in the foolish, worthless shepherd and turn their focus on the good shepherd. Remember when we did the little puppet show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here, the Hebrew is grammatically ambiguous. Okay. It reads more literally, they shall look to me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him. And it's unclear if me and him refer to the same person. So Jewish readings typically avoid interpreting this as God being pierced.
Okay.
Like, as Jesus being pierced, right?
Yeah.
Instead, some Jewish scholars see this as a righteous person or leader who was unjustly killed. And there are a few names that they even mention that are part of their tradition.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Others interpret it as a collective symbol, Jerusalem's guilt for violence past, not a prediction of a future martyr.
Sure.
So they're like collectively mourning how bad they've been or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But I am going to say this though too, because the whole movement of Christianity happened because there was enough Jewish folks that did view this as that type of a prophecy. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's why this came about.
Sure.
Because they made these prophecies come true essentially by creating Christianity.
Yeah.
So there were a large group of people that also saw it as this Christian figure.
Sure. So. Or that rewrote it to be that way.
Yeah. I mean that. Right. Yes, obviously. Yeah.
So I don't know if there were a lot of people that believed it or if there were a lot of people that felt that they needed to go back and be like, let's make this a guy. What do you think?
But it helps to see it that, like, if you want to push that agenda, it's easy enough to push that agenda.
Sure.
Right? Like, that's you can definitely, looking back how Christianity came about, it's easy enough to say, well, yeah, it's Jesus. Sure. Because it sounds exactly like the story that they created for Jesus.
After
we know that it was created after the fact, and then they plugged in the holes. Yeah. But that's, neither here nor there at this point.
So. Okay, I see what you're saying. So you're saying like in the early AD, there were enough people that were like, yeah, that tracks. Okay.
There was probably a Messiah. I mean, I know there was a Messiah type feeling. Like there was the idea that there was some of the Jewish people had the idea that there would be a Messiah based on a lot of these texts, right? Right. There are different interpretations, which is what you're covering right now. Mm-hmm. But there were enough of the people that thought there would be a Messiah that these stories about Jesus took hold.
Okay.
Right?
I see what
That's all I'm saying.
Got it. Alternatively, the phrase might also be metaphorical, piercing God through rebellion or betrayal. Or it may reflect the people's mourning over their own violence or past failures as a nation.
Sure. So. Any number of ways to interpret it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it made me feel better that it didn't have to be just a dude. Like, I was like, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, and I think that will come into play when we start talking about the whole Jesus story, because there's a lot of inconsistencies.
Oh, sure.
In that story from what I understand too.
Yep. So. All right. So the great mourning. Okay, that's where we are. Okay. There will be mourning throughout the land, but it will be particularly intense among those connected with the civil and religious leadership in Jerusalem. So I'm going to read verse 11 now. Okay. On that day, the weeping in Jerusalem will be as great as the weeping of Hadad Rimmon in the plain of Megiddo. And we were like, fuck is all that?
What's all that?
What?
Yeah.
Okay, this is like a super obscure reference that likely refers to the death of King Josiah. He was such a godly king that the whole nation wept bitterly at his death during the battle at Megiddo, as mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 23 and 2 Chronicles chapter 35.
Okay.
And which day became a national day of grief, which I do kind of remember all that now.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what that's about. They're like, hey, remember, I know we haven't talked about it recently, but remember when King Josiah died and the entire nation wept for a day?
Right.
There's going to be mourning, and it's going to be like that fucking day.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what this is supposed to be saying.
Got it.
The text here seems to evoke communal repentance and personal reflection, with mourning divided by families, suggesting a grassroots spiritual renewal, because he calls out different names at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jewish emphasis today is often placed on individual responsibility. Mourning is not just collective guilt, but introspective teshuvah, that is a returning to righteousness. Okay. So like you're supposed to take it in and do that thing that Christians claim that you do with the Jesus thing, which is, repent and turn away from the bad.
Sure.
That's what this is.
Yeah, it's self-reflection, basically. Which should be like in the Christian sense, like prayer and things like that, where you spend time looking inward.
And
instead of asking for your keys back,
Right.
Right. That's not introspection.
No, it's self-correction of behavior and thought.
Right. Yeah.
The dramatic shift from violence to mourning may suggest trauma or moral consequence, a people victorious yet emotionally devastated. Some historians view Zechariah chapters 12, 13, and 14, which is, what we're covering here, as post-traumatic prophecy, written during or after a crisis, like the conflicts with neighboring powers or internal instability.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
It makes so much sense. Yeah. The specificity of names, like I said, he called out David, Nathan, Levi, and Shammai.
Yeah.
These emphasize personal and priestly roles. Those in power are not exempt from accountability.
Okay. All right.
So again, it's like everybody's being held accountable here, from the top leadership. Each family leader, take it upon yourselves to get yourself right and get top to bottom right. And then each of you all the way down to the bottom, turn inward.
I just want to point out, though, that King David, David, he danced naked down the street.
He did have a ding dong dance.
Yeah, and not only that, but like in the last half of the last chapter about him, they mentioned like his harem of like thousands of women or whatever.
Yeah,
and how he had like all these like other things. And we're done. That's it.
He had a 13-year-old sleeping next to him to keep him warm, didn't he?
No, that was somebody else.
Oh, some other king.
Yeah.
That we were supposed to think was good.
No, but no, they threw in his thousands of wives and how he had all these religious like symbols in that area. Whatever. It was crazy, and it was like not part, like that part was not godly.
Yeah.
And then they just wrapped it up and called it done. But then we never speak of it again.
Yeah.
We're just like, no, David was awesome.
He was totally,
just chop off that last half of that chapter.
Just forget about how he turned into a shit when he got old, as all men do,
I just like how it's conveniently glazed over.
Remember how awesome David was? No, I remember how awesome David wasn't.
Right, yeah.
But that was chapter 12, okay? So now we're going to move into chapter 13. The nation gets purified, okay?
Okay.
So we're talking about the purification of the people. After the humiliation and conversion of the Jews foretold in the preceding chapter, they are here promised the full pardon of their sins.
Yay.
And a deliverance from idolatry and false prophets. I have so much to say about this.
Again and again.
Prophecy is given concerning the death of, I don't know, the Messiah or something. Who knows? Yeah.
Sure.
And the persecution of his disciples, ?
Okay.
Like, that's so New Testament. And again, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, let's start with the fountain. Do you remember that fucking fountain that we talked about?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay, so God's forgiveness is available to all who are genuinely sorry for their disobedience and treachery. Okay, and I'm going to read verse 1. Okay?
Yeah.
On that day, a fountain will be opened to the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to cleanse them from sin and impurity. Okay, now the idea of the sin cleansing fountain has been a part of many famous hymns.
Okay.
I'm going to read a verse from 3 different ones. Okay. So we've got from William Cowper. There is a fountain filled with blood drawn from Emmanuel's veins, and sinners plunged beneath that flood lose all their guilty stains.
These aren't
so
songs.
Gothic.
These are just poems.
Well, they're hymns.
Oh, they're hymns. Okay.
They're hymns.
All right.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they're sung in churches.
Got it.
You know?
Yeah.
But I'm like, wow, that is so Gothic.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Foul I to the fountain fly. Wash me, Savior, or I die. Rock of ages cleft for me. Let me hide myself in thee. That's from Augustus Toplady.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we've got, I can't even do this with a straight face. Okay. Then we've got, they were all in love with dying. They were drinking from a fountain that was pouring like an avalanche coming down the mountain.
Is that for real?
No, that's the Butthole Surfers.
I know. I was like,
No.
what the fuck?
No, I had to include it because remember, every time I hear fountain, that's all I can think. They were doing it in Texas. They were all in love with dying. They were drinking from a fountain that was pouring like an avalanche coming down a mountain.
Right.
Well, I don't know. No. You know that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I totally had to include it because, hey, it fits.
I feel like
It's a
the
fountain.
Butthole Surfers, like that name is just genius. How can you hear about a band called Butthole Surfers and not find out more about them?
I did not know that the name of that song is Pepper.
You didn't?
I
Really?
didn't.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was like, I have to look up these lyrics, so I include it with the other two,
Yeah.
the hymns.
Right,
you know,
right.
This is my hymn. Okay, yeah. All right. So in Jewish tradition, living water is often associated with purification, which duh,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
This isn't metaphorical blood or atonement, but an allusion to ritual purification in temple or priestly practice.
Okay.
I mean, even in literature today, when there is water, it almost always represents symbolism for rebirth.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
I mean, that's just like, we get it.
But is this like where we get baptisms and
Oh, yeah.
and things like that
Oh,
from?
totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The idea may echo the purification rites that were listed in Numbers chapter 19, involving water mixed with ashes of the red heifer used to cleanse impurity caused by contact with the dead. I forgot about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Having introduced the subject of forgiveness and cleansing, Zechariah goes on to deal with those evils that had to be removed from the land. You know, the idols, right?
Right. Yeah.
Them fucking Asherah pole dancing whores.
That never seem to leave the land.
Ever.
Yeah.
One of Israel's chief sins was idolatry.
Yeah.
And this had been encouraged by the false prophets. Yeah.
Okay.
Therefore, all false prophets must be killed. Now, what we read was that all prophets must be killed.
Right. Yeah.
Not just false ones.
No, it's
all
true.
of them.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
And I remember we commented on it at the time.
Yeah.
Because we were like, including Zechariah.
Right.
But apologists are like, no. Just
the
bad.
false ones.
Just the false ones.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not what it says,
well,
bruh.
but it also said something about there never being prophets again type thing, too.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
like,
we're going to talk
Okay,
about that.
all right,
Yep,
all right.
yep. So, therefore, all false prophets must be killed. If a false prophet escapes, he might try to preserve his life by throwing away his prophet's cloak and disguising himself as a farmer, but he will not be able to remove the scars on his back. And we were like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
We were like, I have no idea what's happening right now.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to read verse 2. On that day, I will banish the names of the idols from the land, and they will be remembered no more, declares the Lord Almighty. I will remove both the prophets and the spirit of impurity from the land. Okay, so let's go back a minute, okay?
Yeah.
The gaudy and ornate shrines that mark holy sites in Israel today are evidence that idolatry is still alive and well in the Holy Land. Okay, so clearly this is a future to come.
Sure,
okay?
yeah.
Now, in Hebrew, names have power, right? Like, it's a very big deal.
Right.
Okay? Erasing their names means erasing their memory and influence. I mean, that's where you get the
I don't know.
I know. Okay. The dudes that are made out of clay, they're not real.
Shit.
Jinn?
No. Golems.
Thank you. I knew it started with a yeah, golems. That's where you get the golems, right? Because their name, if you say their name, then they like turn to clay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or you can't say the name of God because that is very disrespectful, and so they take the vowels out of it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like names are very powerful.
Right.
Okay. And so if you erase their names, you're erasing their memory and influence, a deeper cultural cleansing than just knocking over a statue.
Right.
So here God promises in this verse to cleanse the land from such idolatry completely and to take away even the memory of that sin.
Okay. All right.
So that's kind of a bigger deal than what we thought.
Yeah.
Okay. The Talmud interprets this cleansing as an eschatological battle where God slaughters the evil inclination. Okay. Not literal idols, but the internal drive to sin.
Okay.
Thus, idolatry, quote unquote, here might refer not only to foreign gods, but also to internal corruption, which kind of goes along with what we were talking about earlier, that turning inward and be better,
right.
Introspection,
and
right?
The washing away and all that stuff. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now, spirit of impurity. That was something that we talked about here. I will remove both the prophets and the spirit of impurity from the land.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is a very unique phrase, and it could refer to a kind of demonic influence or collective societal moral corruption. And it's a stark comparison to the spirit of grace that I asked you to put in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Back in chapter 12, verse 10.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there we had the spirit of grace. Here we've got, he's going to remove the spirit of impurity.
Oh.
You're going to be given the spirit of grace earlier. Now we're going to remove the spirit of impurity.
Okay. All right.
I thought that was a really cool comparison.
Yeah.
Like, oh, damn. Okay. I like shit like that.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So now I'm going to read starting at verse 4 in chapter 13.
Okay. Yep.
On that day, every prophet will be ashamed of their prophetic vision. They will not put on a prophet's garment of hair in order to deceive. And we're like, what?
Yeah, what's a fucking garment of hair?
Yeah, I'll explain.
Okay.
Each will say, I'm not a prophet. I'm a fucking farmer. The land has been my livelihood since my youth. And if someone asks, what are these wounds on your body? They'll answer, the wounds I was given at the house of my friends. What? I didn't.
Right. Sure.
And we were like, I have no idea.
What fucking wounds are you talking? Like, yeah. What is all this shit?
Hairy, what?
Yeah.
Wound, what? Like, none of this made any sense.
Right.
Okay. So the hair garment was a visual symbol of prophecy as worn by Elijah back in 2 Kings chapter 1.
Okay.
And its abandonment literally marks the end of the prophetic era. No more prophets.
So
no
this
more
was
hairy
like
cloaks.
an actual garment that they wore.
Yes.
Okay.
And so now the prophets are not going to be putting on these things anymore because they don't want to be called a false prophet.
Okay.
And they don't want to get in trouble.
Right.
So they're like, I'm not a prophet.
But I could see this just as easily being like the priesthood being like, we're doing away with it. We kind of talked about this at the time. Like this could be the priesthood being like, no, prophets aren't fucking real. Yeah. Like we're the actual power here. So,
and we're done with your magic.
Yeah.
We want to have our little magic, your magic over there where you talk about God and stuff, like talking to you. No, not happening. Bye-bye, Levites or whatever.
And the Levites were the priest
Oh, no, you're right.
Class.
They were the priest class.
Yeah.
Who are they talking to? Just like prophets.
Well, I mean, that was the problem. To me, that was part of the problem is that anybody could have been a prophet, right?
Yeah.
And that was part of the problem overall is that there was, in any given prophet that we've been talking about, they mentioned that there was multiple other prophets and they were the false prophets, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So there's just all these people running around saying, I'm a prophet. And to me, that would get really fucking old. And we commented that in other books, like, how the fuck are you supposed to know which prophet to listen to?
Right.
If they're all fucking prophets, how do we know which one's speaking for God?
That's true. And so, the priests are like, you know what? We're done with that.
Right.
Only we get to say.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like that group of people that claim to be a prophet would only grow as they show that they are able to garner crowds. Like, it's just kind of like, it's like social influencers, right?
Yeah.
They're a dime a dozen now.
Yeah.
Because, like, they're like, oh, I could do that. And,
Right.
everybody gets on there and does it. And so,
yeah. So it wasn't unusual, but here's where we get into the wounds, okay? Like, what do you, the marks, the wounds, what are you talking about? What is that?
Yeah.
Okay. It wasn't unusual for false prophets to wound or even mutilate themselves in the service of idols and false gods. So such scars were a characteristic of sorcerers and false prophets. So they would take like these things and like flagellate themselves. Like they would like little whips with stone things, like
I'm imagining
flip it over their
the
back and beat
cartoon
themselves.
sections from Monty Python's Quest for the Holy Grail.
Yeah, exactly.
Where they're like, I think they did some of that in there, and they also, I know they beat their heads with stone tablets or something.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And these were also made by cutting magic, quote unquote, marks in the skin, cutting the flesh for the dead, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
These and other magical practices were, of course, prohibited, per Leviticus chapter 19 and 1 Kings chapter 18 and like Jeremiah chapter 48. Like lots of places they were like, you cannot be doing that magic-y nonsense.
So when they're referring to prophets, they're not necessarily referring to Jewish prophets, right? They could be prophets of any god, apparently. So there was
any magic doing guy.
So really, when they're saying prophets, unless they specifically say they're speaking for God, like those prophets could be for other gods.
Other gods, yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So they were like, we're done with all the other magic people.
Right.
Only the priests get to be magical, and that's only if we feel like it. Like everybody else, whether you're Jewish or whether you're from like, say, Canaan, or what the fuck ever,
right?
All y'all fucks don't get to be magic anymore. You're false. We declared it so. Boom. The end.
Sure.
Zechariah done wrote it down.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so cutting or marking here may also reference actual Canaanite practices that still persisted to this day, despite reform. Okay. This verse then connects the false prophecy with the occult behavior linked to Canaanite traditions.
Okay.
Which I was like, damn, when I read that.
Right.
Like, oh, y'all just getting rid of witches and magic stuff. Okay.
Right. And there were some serious discussions about, doing away with the Canaanites, basically. It was either this chapter or the next chapter.
It was this chapter. Yeah. Okay. They called them out for real.
Right. And I'm like, these are literally your neighbors. Yeah. I mean, you guys were Canaanites at one point.
Right.
Like this is there's barely a distinction between you two, and the reason that these rituals persist is because you guys are so closely related. Because you guys are so close together. That's why. Not because your God's better. That has nothing to do with it. You're just fucking neighbors that like basically have the same roots.
And your people like it, so that's why you're mad about it.
Well, I mean, it's. I gotta say, we've said it before. It's kind of nice to have choices as to what could help influence better crops or a nicer day or whatever the case may be.
I just want my wife to be able to have 10,000 babies and for my crops to have 10,000 growths.
Yeah,
like that's
whoever can answer that prayer, like more power to you.
Yeah. So I don't care.
Right.
Yeah. So the root of the Hebrew word for wounds can mean blows, injuries, or even plagues.
Okay.
It's intentionally vague and could suggest trauma, not just physical scars. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if someone notices the scars, the false prophet will lie to protect himself, saying that he received the scars through a fight or an accident in a friend's house or possibly loved ones or intimates. Like, no, I didn't beat myself because I'm, a fucking like witch or, fucking magic dude or false prophet or whatever. Right? Yeah. The Hebrew here, though, again, is ambiguous and could instead imply betrayal or interpersonal violence or betrayal or social punishment, not necessarily a literal house. Okay?
Yeah.
Regardless, the image of someone hiding their prophetic identity by pretending to be a farmer ties into the idea that prophecy becomes shameful and they put down those coats.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even dangerous. And this is a reversal of earlier prophetic tradition where prophets were revered. Well, suddenly they're on the run.
But it occurs to me also that the last half of Zechariah was written after Zechariah, right?
Yes.
So this would have been probably the priest class going back and filtering this message into that book, right?
Yes.
And that lends that idea more credibility, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't know that I'm exactly correct, but it sounds very plausible.
No, totally. Totally. Because, I mean, it's already been pointed out that this last half of Zechariah was written later and by somebody else.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that somebody else later was the priestly class.
Or somebody's else.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah. Exactly. So scholars argue that Zechariah 13 might be a composite of multiple oracles. So this chapter in and of itself might have been written by more than one person.
Sure.
Okay. Because, or not just multiple oracles, but it might belong to a different context or tradition.
Okay.
Since the transition between verses 6, which is what we've read up to.
Yeah.
Okay. And 7, which is where we're going, that there's a very abrupt change. Okay.
Yeah.
Suggesting a redactional seam. Yeah.
Okay.
Some scholars see verse 7, again, which is what we're about to get into, as a new oracle with its own structure, possibly inserted later.
Okay. Yeah.
So that kind of changes how we read the rest of this particular chapter. Okay. So this is where we get into like the nations get scattered.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Zechariah returns to the subject of leadership using again the illustration of the shepherd. Remember the puppet show?
Yeah.
Okay. And the leader here referred to may or may not be the person back in chapter 12 who was killed by his own countrymen.
Okay.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
My friend, you pierced me.
Yeah.
By.
Right.
Yeah. The leader of God's choice is one who is close to God and who truly cares for God's people, but the people kill him and persecute his followers.
Got it.
If you believe that that's what it says.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the Hebrew term used for my shepherd or my associate is very rare, and it implies a close peer or companion. So some scholars suggest that this reflects Persian administrative vocabulary, because that is what was leading at the time and influencing.
Okay.
And so this implies a trusted governor, communal leader, or other high official.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah. Not necessarily like God and, you know, a Jesus-y Messiah guy.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, again, changes things, doesn't it?
No, definitely.
Yeah. So as a result of the shepherd's death or whoever this guy is.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
The majority of his people fall under divine judgment. The minority who are left go through a time of suffering, but through this, they become better people. You know, the remnant. Yeah. And they come into closer fellowship with the God in whom they have trusted. These are God's true peeps.
Now, let me just go back here a second, because isn't this the bit where he killed 2/3 of the people?
Yeah.
And then 1/3 of them made it through fire, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that's where.
Yeah, exactly, no. I was just making sure that this was the bit where he killed 2/3 of the fucking Israelites, or whatever.
Where he will kill.
Where he will kill.
Yeah.
2/3 of the fucking Israelites.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not cool, man.
No, not at all. But we're probably reading it wrong.
Is there a right way to read this?
There's a wrong way to translate it so that it is read that way.
Sure. But like with the amount of misreadings that this Bible has, even just today, with everybody that's reading this and interpreting it their own way, is there actually a correct way to read this?
Maybe there's not a correct way, but there's a less really bad and wrong way.
Sure. No,
and I think that's the direction it needs to go. I think that we can throw away every Christian translation, and I think that's why I get really annoyed with Christianity.
Sure.
They aren't interpreting it correctly.
No, and that's why like it's a joke, right? That Christians cherry pick, and that, you know, all these things.
Not only are they cherry picking, they're not even translating correctly what they're cherry picking.
Right. I mean, if Christianity had started today, right, it would be about as ridiculous as the Mormon, you know, side of things, or you know, Scientology or whatever. It would be just as ridiculous, because people would be like, "What the fuck are you trying to do?"
Exactly.
You know, but no, this is 2,000 years old, so
therefore real.
It has legitimacy, I guess.
But it doesn't, is the thing. It doesn't, and that is so frustrating. Like,
no, really, yeah.
Is there a right way to read this? No. But we can definitely say that every Christian Bible is the absolute wrong way to read it, because they are not interpreted correctly.
I mean, the Old Testament doesn't need any help being ridiculous.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
No, it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
Okay. So the imagery of refining fire, so that's exactly where I was headed next.
Yeah.
Is a classic prophetic trope. Okay. Malachi, Isaiah, not to mention like other religions outside of Judaism.
Sure.
Suffering leads to purification, like duh, right? In Jewish readings, this is often national or communal, however, not individual salvation. So the nation will, you know, as a whole.
And that trucks, because like they definitely lump everybody into piles of people in this whole God redeeming them as a group type thing. So
exactly.
Yeah.
All right. And the whole, they will call on my name.
Yeah.
That, you know, God says they're going to call on me.
Right.
This implies restored covenantal relationship, not necessarily afterlife reward, like what, you know, Christians would say.
Right.
But national restoration, which is to say a returning to favor with Yahweh.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have some notes now that are just like not verse specific, but are just about this chapter as a whole.
Got it.
Okay. This chapter was likely composed post-temple reconstruction during the Persian period, so about 5th century BCE.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
The social anxiety around false prophets may reflect rivalries between priestly and prophetic factions, as you pointed out, or intra-Jewish disputes about leadership and legitimacy. So political.
No, it sounds like what I was kind of angling at based on just reading the chapters is sounds like it's probably a lot correct, maybe.
Yeah.
Or at least not far off base.
Exactly. You know? Yep. The passage indicates a cessation of prophecy, possibly reflecting the post-exilic view that the prophetic era was over. Done. No more magic, y'all.
Yeah, but who decided that? That's the real question,
priests,
right? Yeah, right.
Obviously.
Exactly.
Yeah. The directive that false prophets will be killed echoes Deuteronomy chapters 13 and 18, which set strict guidelines and penalties for prophecy not aligned with Yahweh. There's a harsh authoritarian vibe suggesting theocratic enforcement.
Yeah. That's yeah. The bit from Deuteronomy though was more about false prophecies, right?
Yeah.
There was a strong emphasis back then about prophesizing something incorrectly.
Yes.
But it wasn't that you couldn't have prophets. It was just you better not say something that's not God's word.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's what they're saying, though, that everybody who says something, whether it comes to or not, they're all false prophets because it didn't go through us.
Right.
They're being gatekeepers of prophecy. Okay. So again, there's that authoritarian vibe suggesting theocratic enforcement, and there's a hint of priestly authority asserting dominance over rival traditions.
Okay.
So it wasn't just that there were all these prophets running around, it's that these other prophets running around were gaining followers.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
The priests are trying to bring the power back to the church, essentially.
Yeah.
Or whatever, you know.
It's also worth noting that in Hebrew, the word prophets in this chapter are masculine.
Okay.
The masculine use of the word.
Sure.
But prophecy in the Tanakh was also associated with women like Deborah, Huldah, Miriam.
Yeah.
The exclusion of female prophetic voices here reflects post-exilic patriarchal reforms.
No, absolutely. There was a lot more women earlier in the Bible, which is strange, right? Like that we evolved away from women being in charge. That's weird.
Oh, look, the church took over and suddenly women go back to being whores and honey-lipped vixens. Yeah. You know?
Well, and I don't think they were ever thought of completely well, but they definitely weren't as shit on.
Right.
At some point.
No, they were still owned, but they were still something that you wanted to win over, too.
Right. Yeah, no,
now
definitely.
Now they are just back to, like, chattel.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's an interesting arc in the Bible, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. Zechariah can lick my ass. How about that? Okay. So, okay. And I know that this is lengthy, but I just had so much. It was so interesting. These chapters, like, they deserve all these questions answered because we had a lot of them.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're moving into chapter 14. And scholars generally place chapter 14 in the Second Temple period, likely post-exilic, late 5th to 4th century BCE.
Okay. All right.
Its apocalyptic tone resembles parts of Daniel and Joel, suggesting it's a product of eschatological imagination, not specific prediction.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
This final chapter is part of a different tone and agenda than even the previous ones, more focused on cosmic justice and divine kingship than earlier temple rebuilding themes.
Yeah, I will say, like, Zechariah, when we got into these last few chapters, just kept getting, like, it was like, hold my beer.
Yeah.
You know,
each chapter got heavier and heavier, right?
Right. No, it was like...
And it totally got away from, like, hey, guys, we need to just build this temple. Hey, let's all... Don't forget, when we build the temple, God will come. If you build it, they will come, right?
Right.
Let's build the temple.
Yeah.
And then it was suddenly like, and then we will barf on all the nations surrounding us, and God will rule the world. And it's like,
yeah, no, it got real serious real quick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, and if you're just like reading it straight through, it hits different.
Yeah.
All right. So in the first part of this chapter, the commencement of this chapter relates to the destruction of Jerusalem and to the calamities consequent on that event.
Okay.
Yep. From this great Jewish tragedy, the prophet immediately passes to the utter extermination of his enemies. God will display power on behalf of his people in a manner so astonishing and miraculous that even they themselves, and much more, their enemies, shall be struck with terror.
Yeah.
It's going to be bad, guys.
Yep.
The national prosperity of the Jewish people shall then be permanent and unmixed. And these people shall be made the instruments of converting many to the faith of the Messiah.
I see. Okay. All right.
The great increase and prosperity of the New Jerusalem is then described, and the most significant vengeance denounced against all her enemies. We will take you all down.
This sounds, I mean...
This sounds like a little boy in 5th grade that wants to hit everybody that ever made fun of him ever.
Well, I was going to say this kind of strikes a tone of kind of the evangelical tone of Christianity.
Yeah.
You know, like
very
it's
much.
got a vibe that resonates with some of the rhetoric happening these days.
Get them.
Right. Yeah.
They want, Jesus wants to stick his boot up somebody's ass song, country singer from a while back.
Right.
Yeah, that one.
It struck me tonight. We mentioned earlier in the podcast that we had watched Trump's speech tonight about the Iran thing, and he invoked God at the end of his speech.
We love God.
Over and over and over again. But like there was one point where I felt like he almost went off the rails to like start just like, you know, free
ball.
No, just like he was just kind of like ad-libbing his love for God, and it was like it was about to get weird, but then he was like, no, I better make this normal.
Yeah, because he didn't know what to say besides we love God, God bless God, God is God, and we really dig him.
I felt like it could have gone a whole other way if he would have just not brought himself back down because he was like ready to just like.
You could tell somebody was like on the other side of the camera, like waving their arms, going, "No,
yeah,
no."
Was like, just say God bless whatever. God bless whatever.
God bless
whatever. That's it. That's it.
God bless the Middle East.
You don't need to go saying how God's a great guy and that God's probably. He would just God bless whatever.
Yep,
just say God bless.
Yep, and be done. Turn around. Walk away, bruh. Yeah. So from this happy period, God's name will be honored in everything, and His worship everywhere, most reverently observed.
Okay. Yeah.
Remember with the pots and the pans and the bells and stuff like that. Yeah. It got real weird.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So. In the final section of his book, Zechariah outlines briefly the worldwide triumph of, I don't know, the Messiah, something. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah. So apologists say, since those for whom he writes are familiar only with the region around Palestine, he limits the geographical details to that area.
Oh, yeah. That's a good reason.
Other pictures are likewise taken from the way of life familiar to the Jews. That's why. God was being nice to them.
God not only built everything in the universe, he also wrote a book specifically for that time and place in all of history where just that once he put down words for humanity to follow him and obey him and know what he had to say, but also it's specifically geared at them.
Yeah,
in that little area,
in that
of the
little
world.
speck of sand over there.
Right. That all is true and right. No, wait, what?
That makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, if you are God, you just make it true for all time. You there's ways to write and make it understood by the people of the time and place without invoking localism.
Right.
You know what
exactly.
I mean? Make it bigger than what that area is. Make it more prophetic. Make it more everything. But it doesn't have to be specific to that area. But you made it specific.
You could have even
said,
like, to the lands that you people have not yet discovered.
Right.
You could have said, to all the oceans you have not yet crossed.
Yeah, no, and people like to say this is God's word. And I'm like, bullshit. You absolutely cannot, with any sense of, like, truth, say to me that this is written by God, that this is God's word.
He on purpose dummied it down for just those two people in that one little corner. Okay.
And that's just it.
Why?
Every fucking verse, every fucking chapter, every fucking book has an apologist apologizing it because there's something fucked up about it.
Right. Exactly. I had to include that particular one because I'm like, but why that one? Why didn't he write any other dummied down versions for the other little pockets of the world?
Yeah.
What's so special about that piece?
The answer is nothing.
No, I'll tell you what it is. The answer is tribalism, and it's the one that got through. It's the one that lasted.
Right.
It's a little small sand god.
Yeah.
And that speck lasted.
Right.
The other specks didn't.
Yeah.
And he's not powerful, just the followers were just that fucking fanatic.
Yeah.
All right, so the scene opens with the enemies of God mistakenly thinking that at last they have conquered his people, Jerusalem. Confident that they have achieved victory.
Yeah, that's the one.
Victory.
Yep.
Yes. They sit down in the middle of the city to divide the plunder. As they do.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
While the Jews are either led away captive or imprisoned in the city. So this is, again, to come.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
We were great. Now we're dead again.
Right.
Womp, womp.
Yeah. There's just no winning.
Yeah. When the Romans came against Jerusalem in AD 70, they came with a multinational army and brought terrible destruction on the city and its people. And at that time, the Jews from that time really thought that a Messiah was coming to save them.
Sure.
And they were like, this is it. This is the moment. This is what's happening. It's here. It's on. And it wasn't.
That mentality has carried through to this day.
Right, exactly.
Every generation has a catastrophe that makes people think it's the fucking end of the world.
Exactly.
Right? And it's one of those things that I really just rail against because I'm like, get out of your own fucking asses and realize that this has happened time and time again.
Why do you think you're so special that you get to live through it?
What? Yeah. Why is this moment? Why is this moment the moment?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Yet there was none of the deliverance that Zechariah describes in the following verses. So it's difficult to say that this was fulfilled in the Roman attack upon Jerusalem in AD 70.
I'd say it's difficult to say it happened at any point in time.
It hasn't.
And it's also even more difficult to say that it ever will happen at any point in time.
Right, given that a lot of those nations don't exist that way anymore. They just don't. Well,
and more, even if we're talking in grandiose speak, as far as like prophets and things to come and whatever, like things have been, there's been interpretations of like Trump being part of this whole thing, and just like I'm just saying, there's ways to you can make this stuff match anything you want.
Listen,
right?
If Trump is involved, he's the goddamn Antichrist.
I'm definitely, yeah. But what I'm saying is that there's ways to make this stuff fit any point in time, and people work day and night to make it fit any point in any era, so that they have something to preach, so that they have something to, scare people with. That they, it makes the message that much more relevant in that age if you can make it apply to things that are going on in that age. So
if it bleeds, it leads, and fear is the way.
Yeah.
So just when it seems that all hope will be gone for Jerusalem and the people of Israel, then the Lord will fight for his people. Suddenly God acts in supernatural judgment. As he once divided the Red Sea to give his people a way of escape from the Egyptians, so he will divide the mountains east of Jerusalem to give his people a way of escape from the enemy-occupied city.
I recall this now. As I recall, he let his people get conquered and also raped, I think, was one of the things that happened before he intervened.
Yes.
And I'm like, really, dude?
Because he sucks.
Yeah.
He's
That's
an asshole.
Just fucked up.
So I'm going to read verse 5. You will flee by my mountain valley, for it will extend to Azel. You will flee as you fled from the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. Then the Lord my God will come and all the holy ones with him.
Okay, but
remember that?
Yeah, but why didn't he just let them stay?
Because.
Okay.
So that thing where he was like earthquake.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah. That's a reference to Amos chapter 1, verse 1.
Okay.
And it's one of the oldest earthquake records in biblical history.
Okay.
Modern archaeology has actually found signs of an 8th century BCE earthquake around that time in Judah.
And we've talked about this before, I think,
yeah.
too. Yeah.
And I'm just going to read that first verse from Amos.
Yeah.
Just to refresh our memories.
Sure.
The words of Amos, one of the shepherds of Tekoa, the vision he saw concerning Israel 2 years before the earthquake, when Uzziah was king of Judah and Jeroboam, son of Jehoash, was king of Israel.
Got it.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that in many other Bibles is not actually verse 1, it's the title or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on. Okay.
Must have been one hell of an earthquake to
make the Bible.
Well, and to be talked about for hundreds of years.
Right?
Yeah.
Remember that one time? And they're like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Great grandma was always yammering about it.
Or it could have been, I was going to say, it could have been more like a fish story. Just kept getting bigger and bigger as time went on.
Yeah. So God gives his people satisfaction and provision by altering the course of nature for their benefit. They lack nothing. God now establishes his throne in a restored and repopulated Jerusalem, from where he rules all over the earth. Okay, so he's like, this is what's going to happen, and it's going to be awesome or whatever.
Yeah.
Mountains around the city will be flattened so that Jerusalem will be lifted up in the eyes of all nations, and Israel's God will be worshipped worldwide. All right, now listen, this is interesting.
Yeah.
In Ezekiel, remember that chapter or that book was like freakazoid.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Chapter 47 of Ezekiel records a vision that describes a similar river flowing from the throne of God and down to the Dead Sea, bringing life and vitality everywhere. And so I thought I would reread that.
Okay.
Just so that we could compare it and be like, oh, okay.
Sure.
So Ezekiel chapter 47, starting at verse 1.
Okay.
The man, remember the man?
Yeah.
He's the measuring dude.
Right.
brought me back to the entrance of the temple, and I saw water coming out from under the threshold of the temple toward the east, for the temple faced east. The water was coming down from under the south side of the temple, south of the altar. He then brought me out through the north gate and led me around the outside, round the outside, to the outer gate facing east, and the water was trickling from the south side. As the man went eastward with a measuring line in his hand, he measured off 1,000 cubits and then led me through the water that was ankle deep. He measured off another 1,000 cubits and led me through water that was a knee deep. He measured off another 1,000 and led me through water that was up to the waist. We drowned in. He measured off another 1,000, but now it was a river that I could not cross because the water had risen and was deep enough to swim in, a river that no one could cross. He asked me, "Son of man, do you see this?" Then he led me back to the bank of the river. When I arrived there, I saw a great number of trees on each side of the river. He said to me, "This water flows toward the eastern region and goes down into the Arabah, where it enters the Dead Sea. When it empties into the sea, the salty water there becomes fresh. Swarms of living creatures will live wherever the river flows. There will be large numbers of fish because this water flows there and makes the salt water fresh. So where the river flows, everything will live. Fishermen will stand along the shore from En-Gedi to En-Glaim. There will be places for spreading nets. The fish will be of many kinds, like the fish of the Mediterranean Sea. Okay. But the swamps and marshes will not become fresh. They will be left for salt. Fruit trees of all kinds will grow on both banks of the river. Their leaves will not wither, nor will their fruit fail. Every month they will bear fruit because the water from the sanctuary flows to them. Their fruit will serve for food and their leaves for healing." Okay. So there's that river that maybe is, when Ezekiel was having this vision of a future, there's going to be some heaven on earth kind of thing, right?
Right.
And then, so this is Zechariah going, yeah, there's totally going to be a river and great
more prophet
stuff on earth.
More prophecy confirmation.
Yes. Riding on the shoulders of prophets, we tell that prophecy again.
Yeah.
That's called piggybacking.
Right.
Not shoulder standing. Yeah. So enemies are destroyed in a terrifying judgment, and Israel is compensated for all that it previously lost to plundering armies.
Because they are going to plunder the armies.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Verse 13 reads, "On that day, people will be stricken by the Lord with great panic. They will seize each other by the hand and attack one another."
Yeah.
That's fun.
As you do.
Yeah. "Judah, too, will fight at Jerusalem. The wealth of all the surrounding nations will be collected. Great quantities of gold and silver and clothing. A similar plague will strike the horses and mules and camels and donkeys and all the animals in those camps."
Because why not?
Yeah.
Might as well kill the animals too.
Yeah. So in the deliverance that the Messiah brings, the enemies of God and his people will be destroyed by plague, by mutual slaughter, and by the sword of Judah. The description of flesh dissolving makes many today think that Zechariah is describing the effects of a nuclear bomb. Okay. Yeah. All right. However, the rotting flesh imagery has parallels in other ancient Near Eastern war texts and plague curses.
Sure.
These aren't nuclear war predictions, but literary commonplaces meant to evoke horror. As they did and as they still do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why zombie movies still sell, and I cannot wait to see 28 years later.
Right. This is what I was saying, where they take imagery and they can apply it to whatever they want to apply it to.
Yeah. So. But I mean, even like when we were reading that chapter, I was like, whoa, rotting flesh, that sounds like radiation from a nuclear bomb. And you were like, I'm trying not to say that. And I'm like, but it does though.
No, they're... Given our current modern state, yes, you can definitely apply that imagery to that thing, right? Like that's definitely a possibility.
But like a few hundred years ago, it would have been leprosy.
Sure, yeah. I merely didn't want to say it because let's
not feed into that.
Right. Yeah. definitely.
Especially, since the U.S. just bombed Iran. And,
well, given everything. I mean,
Yeah.
just the whole, everything is so topsy-turvy right now. There's no telling
let's just not with the
what's in store for us all.
nuclear talk. Let's all lay down our guns, Come
Right.
on. No bombs, guys. No bombs.
Yeah.
All right. So survivors among the nations are required to come to Jerusalem to worship God. This ingathering of nations is likened to Israel's ingathering of harvest fruits at the Feast of Tabernacles, which is also the Feast of Shelters.
Yeah, they did kind of bring that up.
Yeah, at the end of each agricultural year.
Right.
And then verse 19 reads, "This will be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all the nations that do not go up to celebrate the Festival of Tabernacles." And remember, we were like, damn, why you got to be calling out Egypt like that? So Egypt is specifically mentioned because they were a nation not especially dependent on rain. Yet even so, they too will be punished if they are disobedient.
Sure.
But the emphasis on rain, harvest, and festival can be explained anthropologically as a kind of fertility rite or seasonal ritual codified into sacred text. The concern for rain punishment, if nations don't celebrate, shows that there's still a close tie between religion and survival economics.
I mean, yeah.
Right.
That's...
If you don't come, we're going to withhold rain.
I think that survival economics and religion has always been the motivating factor, right? I mean, even in Christianity, you go to church so that you have the blessing of God to do better in your life, make more money, succeed at things, have friends that help you with, there's this whole build you up aspect of what religion is. And that's probably the largest reason why people go is for that
blessings.
It's like playing the lottery. Well, if I go, I might win, so might as well go.
You go for the blessings.
As the benefit, and the benefit also is that, I also have friends there that'll help me with things too. So you get the community and you get the chance, you get that random, 1 in a billion chance that you get that blessing from God, right?
Well, I mean, they don't take it as a 1 in a million, though. They are like, no, it's mine. It's guaranteed.
But they also attribute every fucking thing to God. So, I mean,
how special is it?
Yeah, right. I mean, literally,
if everything is special, nothing is special.
Look, I'm going to use your parents as an example here, but if I've lost track just in the last week of how many times I've seen your mom post the words "Amen" on Facebook. I mean, they literally attribute everything to God.
Well, yeah,
everything.
But, okay, not to be argumentative here, but that's the point that they're trying to make is that everything is attributable to God.
No, I get it, but I can literally survive just the same by attributing absolutely nothing to God. It makes no difference. There is no difference.
Right.
They're not doing any better than we are. I mean, there's nothing special about what they have achieved versus what we have achieved versus what other people have achieved. They are simply saying the words and going through the motions to be part of a club that is social, and that is the extent
I'm going to push back on that because they don't actually go to a church.
Right.
So
yeah, no, I know.
Because they can't find a church that's as wackadoodle as they are. So they're not doing it for the social.
Right.
Because they don't have a church that agrees with their
That's fair, but they do have friends come over for church stuff.
They do. But my mom and dad were doing their own church stuff before they started inviting people over.
That is true as well.
And they would still be doing it regardless. They do what they're calling home church, where they are doing their own study and stuff.
Sure.
So
no,
I'm only pushing back because you said that they do it to belong to a club, and it's
okay, they do it to belong to the lifestyle that they want.
They do it to be allowed to think how they want to think.
Yeah.
Smugly.
And justify it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. That's not exactly the same, but it's close enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no longer is there a difference between sacred and non-sacred articles. This is where we come to the fucking pots and pans.
Okay. Yeah.
Everything is holy and fit for the service of God, even household pots and pans.
Wow.
And bells on the necks of horses.
Yeah.
Since all things are holy, listen to this.
I'm listening.
Traders are no longer needed in the temple to exchange non-sacred goods for sacred goods.
Oh. Okay,
Interesting, right?
So they had holy traders, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah. True holiness will at last be established in the world. This critique of commerce in religious spaces is a super big deal. It was hearkened to when Jesus pushed over the table.
Yeah.
Granted, we're not there yet, but that was the first thing that I thought of. Like, it's one of the few Jesus-y stories that I'm familiar with.
Sure.
That he's like, fuck these fucking people selling shit, at church and doing money stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a big fucking deal here. Okay. The image of kicking out traders reflects a deeper concern about mixing sacred with profit. Still a hot issue in religious institutions even today.
I was going to say, we did go to church for a while, right? And we went there out of curiosity more than anything. Mm-hmm. And we are friends enough with some of the people that were in leadership at that church. Mm-hmm. And we still plan on maybe someday interviewing our pastor, who's now no longer Christian. But there was a lot of, at that church, there was a lot of politics. And part of the reason he ended up leaving Christianity in total was because of money and politics and things.
In church.
Right? Yeah. There's definitely a through line of how money is involved in these God houses. Institutions. Yeah. And it's
not just the tax-free benefits too. It's the how money is taken in and how it will be utilized.
And who controls it.
And who gets paid by it.
Yeah.
And each little church faction gets to decide that for themselves, whether they have a board or whether the pastory preacher person, whatever, is in charge of it, or whether it's a handful of people or elders or what the fuck ever.
No, I mean, honestly, it's an easy way to power grab, right? Like, there's how many churches in any given town? Uh-huh. You get yourself ingratiated into one and get yourself into the fucking money board make yourself, indispensable.
Yeah.
You can make a power grab, and people do.
Oh yeah.
People do all the time. Mm-hmm. It's a big thing in churches, who controls the money, who is in control of what's happening, and it runs some pastors and preachers out of the business.
It does, because let them not fool you. It is a business, kids.
Oh fuck yeah.
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 Yeah. So those who are decent will not remain in that business because they can't sleep at night.
Right. Right.
And that's just true.
Right. But there are also many preachers and pastors who are literally grifters, and they are the ones that are in charge of the money, and they make sure they are.
Oh yeah.
So because it goes both ways.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Some people get in it with good intentions. Some people don't.
Right. No, some people get in it with good intentions and actually think it is what it says it is. And then they're heartbroken when they, get out of seminary and they're like, wow, not only is the Bible full of shit, but now I find out that the institution that made us read it is full of shit.
Well, and I would put our pastor in that camp.
Yeah.
Like the guy that was our pastor, he one of the most well-intentioned people I've ever known. Mm-hmm. And he did a lot of studying of the Bible. Like, he is one of the most well-versed people I know about the Bible. And I think he loved it, but he didn't love the other aspects of it.
No, he loved the scholarship and the learning, the academic side of it.
Right.
And that's what made it so interesting to listen to him, because it was like you were sitting in a history class rather than...
And he loved what he was doing.
He did.
So,
but he also purposefully, I don't know if you're aware of this, at the time, he purposefully removed himself from the money-making decisions because he felt like it was not correct that he was getting paid and then would, on top of that, be in charge of making decisions of how much he would get paid.
Yeah.
And, to me, that speaks volumes for his character as a person.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, so money in church, bad. Let's read verse 20 now.
Okay.
On that day, holy to the Lord, all caps, will be inscribed on the bells of the horses. So that was a great inscription that was on the metal band around the high priest's headpiece mentioned in Exodus 28.
Okay.
So
all right.
That's where that came from.
Got
holy
it.
to the Lord. Okay. And the rest of that verse reads, and the cooking pots in the Lord's house will be like the sacred bowls in front of the altar. And we were like, the fuck with these fucking pots and shit.
Yeah.
These were the cooking utensils used by worshippers to cook the sacrificial meat intended for them from the peace offerings.
Okay.
The
all right.
bowls before the altar were used to gather and sprinkle sacrificial blood on the altar.
Got it.
So this shows that the animal sacrifice will continue in the millennium, meaning in the time to come.
Yeah.
Not as atonement for sin, however, but as remembrance for and celebration of God's perfect work.
Interesting.
Interesting.
So now it's going to continue, which we've tried to
Christians say, no, God is the ultimate sacrifice.
Right. Well, obviously that would have put an end to it right there, right? If we're to take the Christians at their word.
Yeah.
But they kind of contradictory here as far as
Zechariah's like, no, it's still going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't specifically say it, but that's what it means, though.
Unless you read this as a prophecy of Christian of the coming Christian, power, of Christianity,
Cooking pots in the Lord's house will be like the sacred bowls in front of the altar.
Well, that gives them a good
symbolism
400 or 500 years
Sure.
to deal with more sacrifices and then move on to, well, this is the ultimate sacrifice, right? Mm-hmm. We could look at it that way.
Sure.
And at some point, humanity loses its taste for just sacrificing fucking things.
Yeah.
It's so barbaric and...
I mean, we do still love us some hamburgers, but we don't want to, sprinkle the cow blood.
We don't want to do ritual sacrifice.
Yeah. We want to eat it, but pretend that it's not.
We don't want to see the sacrifice. Just, somebody else do that shit.
Yeah, just cook it up. Yeah. So what was previously common is now made holy, and the holy is made holier, and the profane is forever shut out.
Okay.
Remember I said, if everything's special, nothing's special? That's what we've got here.
Okay.
The people and the city will be so holy that even these insignificant things will be fully dedicated to the Lord.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. This is a radical departure from earlier Torah practice where holiness is strictly separated, clean, unclean, sacred versus common, right?
Yeah.
This is an inversion of Levitical purity codes, perhaps signaling the end of temple-based religion or an evolution of it.
Sure.
Which is very interesting.
Well, I think that there needed to be, we're talking about post-exilic here, right?
Yeah.
So there's still lots of enemies around them and lots of things that are still to come, like the, Romans going to conquer, like there's all these powers still surrounding them.
Yeah.
So making it sound better to be Jewish is probably a popular thing to do.
Sure.
If it's easier, then we can all partake in this wonderfulness that is God, right? So let's just all have all the holiness ever. And here, we're going to have all the holiness ever. Everything's going to be holy.
It's all going to be great. It's going to be awesome.
Right. And Christianity was a furtherance of that, in my opinion, too. It's just let's make this better for everybody.
Everybody gets some.
Right. You don't even have to worry about sin anymore. He died for you. This is fucking awesome, guys.
I know, right?
Yeah. Good shit.
So I'm just going to read a little bit more that talks about the chapter as a whole, and then we'll wrap this up, okay? All right. So in traditional Jewish eschatology, the Messiah is not divine and does not descend on clouds or split mountains. The Messianic age is not supernatural, but restorative.
Okay.
Many Jewish commentators read Zechariah 14 allegorically. The Messiah brings political peace and moral reform, and miraculous language is just hyperbolic or symbolic.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Mount of Olives was talked about in this chapter.
Yeah.
It's taken by some commentators as a metaphor for divine intervention, altering the expected natural order, similar to how earthquakes shake foundations. It's not necessarily future prophecy, but possibly poetic emphasis on just dramatic change in general.
Sure.
So more like, you know how like Mount Olives? Yeah, totally gonna split, like, but not really though.
But that's part of my argument is that when people say God's word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if God's word is metaphorical, like, how are we supposed to take it as his word when you could interpret it any number of ways, right?
Well, there are a lot of Christians, like my parents, who say, no, it's not. It's not metaphorical.
Sure.
Every single word is 100% true and happens.
And that's why you have to take every single person that you talk to that's religious, you have to like first ask them, which version of God are we talking about? The literal, the metaphorical, the killing God, the peaceful God? Like, which version of God do you believe in?
Right.
And let's get that cleared up first, and then we can start the discussion a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you'll backtrack at some point to some other version of God, but we'll cover that when we get there.
Right.
You know,
right.
like
I'm just going to give you the rope to hang yourself with now because I want to know where we're starting.
Right. But like people, like when you talk to someone who believes in God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you start, and I've started the conversation like this. I'm like, well, which version of God do you believe in? And they're always like, what do you mean? I'm like, I mean, which version of God do you believe in? Like, which is your God, the literal word of God? Is your God metaphorical? Like, you know, I've asked these questions of people and they always act like you're crazy for asking. I'm like, well, I've talked to a million different believers and you all believe something different.
Like,
so I'm just trying to clear up ahead of time which version you believe in.
Like, are you closer to husband's mom or my mom?
Right.
Because they both call themselves Christian.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't really think either one of them is like the exact what I think of as Christianity defined in the Bible that I haven't even finished reading yet.
Right.
One is like a little loosey-goosey and spiritual with it, and the other one is like hardcore, rude, horrible, you know?
Yeah.
Like fire and brimstone kind of shit.
Right.
And I don't think either one of them quite has the right idea.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard one person. I've never heard any group of people ever completely agree on what they think God is.
Yeah.
And that's hard enough to even start a discussion right there.
Yeah, so, I know. It's true.
Yeah.
Rabbinic interpreters often note that this prophecy was, of course, not fulfilled. So it's viewed as a future idealized version, not tied to past events like, for example, 70 of the current era, year 70.
When the Romans conquered.
Yeah. Some Jewish scholars viewed the war imagery as part of a messianic conflict still to come, but not like in apocalyptic Christian terms.
Right. Yeah.
Some scholars interpret this chapter as a kind of wishful reversal of past humiliations.
And that's probably more in line with what it actually is because, again, post-exilic, right?
Yes.
And still surrounded by enemies.
Yes, exactly. The quote-unquote gathering of nations against Jerusalem.
Yeah.
That could echo memories of Babylonian conquest, and the deliverance is a fantasy of vengeance and divine justice in response to powerlessness.
It could also echo the helplessness they feel as one of the lesser powers in the area that they currently live in.
Exactly. This is apocalyptic literature wrapped in political protest.
Sure.
Zechariah chapter 14 is best read not as prediction, but as a kind of revolutionary literature. In times of occupation and subjugation, this kind of writing lets people imagine radical justice, nature itself bending to restore fairness. It's not prophecy, it's hope refracted through myth.
Yeah.
Jewish tradition sees the Feast of Booths festival as a universalistic holiday, even in the Tanakh, like Leviticus chapter 23, Deuteronomy chapter 16. It is also associated with rain and agriculture, so the requirement for nations to attend is both spiritual and eschatological, a kind of covenant between nature and nations. Some rabbis interpret this as metaphorical. Nations that align with justice will thrive.
Got it.
The end.
Yeah. I mean, I think the part that I took from that is that some will interpret this as, and you can just leave it at that.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
Like, this is look, we're reading the Bible. We're not scholars. We don't know everything about what we're reading, right? There's obviously people out there that know way more than we do.
Obviously.
Dan McClellan is one of the preeminent scholars that I pay attention to.
I can't even
religion.
I can't even pronounce this shit correctly. So
and he is very knowledgeable about what is said in the Bible and what it might mean, what it might not mean, and he's very well spoken about that. But I don't think that it really matters all that much. It does when you're trying to nail down a believer
in conversation,
right? Yeah. But in the grand scheme of things, we're talking about mythologies from thousands of years ago, and we're just trying to sort out what it means to us, right? And as I said earlier, each person has their own individualistic idea of what it means to them, whether you're Christian or not Christian, because at this point it does not matter whether you're Christian or not Christian. These ideas permeate our society, right? So we're just trying to figure out what it is and where it is you're coming from with these ideas and how to respond to you in kind.
Exactly. I think that's ultimately what this podcast is about.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure out which God do you believe in, and so how can we have a conversation with you about that so that you stop taking away our rights.
Yeah. And moreover, the very premise of this at the beginning was I didn't want somebody to tell me that I hadn't read the Bible.
Exactly.
And, now I can say, well, you haven't read the fucking Bible.
Obviously. Obviously.
Because generally speaking, I know way more than most Christians that I've talked to.
Yeah.
At this point.
This point. Yeah. And, we've got the wrap up of Zechariah coming.
Yeah.
And then there's only one book left, and that is Malachi.
Okay.
Of the
Old Testament.
Traditional Old Testament.
Right.
Yeah.
Of the Christian Old Testament.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was, you got anything else to add?
No, that was long enough. But we had a lot of questions.
We did. No, there's a lot to cover.
Yeah, just those 3 chapters, we had no idea what was happening.
No, absolutely. So that was our Q&A for Zechariah chapters 12, 13, and 14. And we do take Sundays off, except that we are doing our live Discord tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. Today.
Yeah.
At 2 p.m. Eastern. So if you're catching this in the morning before 2 p.m. Eastern, get your ass over to Discord and join us there.
Yeah.
There is some inside joke stuff that happens occasionally because we've all been there with each other for a long time. So don't let it scare you off. Sit there, just putz around for a bit in the chat and then find your way and just stick around and see how it goes because it is fun.
It is fun. And if you ask any question, anybody there will answer it kindly and enthusiastically.
Yeah.
Because we have really built a fun community of people that are not assholes.
Yeah, I absolutely love our Discord.
Me too.
It's one of the best communities I've ever been a part of.
These people, I think of them as my friends. They are my friends.
Yeah.
And it's the only place online I would hang out. It's the only place online I do hang out.
Yeah.
I don't even do Facebook anymore, y'all. I only do this Discord group.
It's true. All right. Well, that's all we got for today. Thank you for joining us. This was a long episode. If you made it to the end, congratulations. And we will see you
later this afternoon.
Well, yeah, later this afternoon if you join us. And then that episode will be coming out on Monday. On Tuesday, hopefully we'll have out our, we'll be doing, I think, a wrap-up.
Of Zechariah. And then that night, we will have our live Discord.
Oh, yeah.
Our weekly.
Yeah. So
at 10 p.m. Eastern.
That'll be coming. Yeah. Anyway, so there's a lot of episodes coming up. We still probably won't wrap up Zechariah completely until mid next week.
Yeah.
At the very earliest.
Yeah, because then we'll have contradictions and you're always wrong.
Yep. So we still got some episodes to go to finish everything out in this book.
Yep.
But we'll be starting Malachi very soon.
Yep.
So, all right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Hey, wife, I guess that's the end?
But husband, that's just sad.
It doesn't have to be. We are on lots of social media platforms like Twitter. Our handle there is sacrilegious_D.
For D's nuts.
Oh my God. Stop doing that. Anyway, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. There's a link to all of our social media sites at our website.
Ooh, we have a website?
Yeah, it's sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, where you can also find a link to our merch shop.
We have a merch shop?
Yep, we have podcast-themed clothing, mugs, notebooks, and more, as well as an atheist and science-themed products.
Wow, our fans should really go check that out right now.
Definitely. They can get in touch with us by sending an email to sacrilegiousdiscourse@gmail.com. But before they do that, we could really use some help.
Oh yeah? With what?
Well, it's not free running the podcast, and we need some financial support in order to get better equipment, which will free up time so we can concentrate on our podcast and our fans.
Okay, so what should they do?
Head over to patreon.com/sacrilegious discourse and sign up as a contributor on our podcast. Supporters there receive additional bi-weekly episodes that we record just for our Patreon members for as little as $2 a month.
Also, we'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe on whatever platform you're using.
And Apple Podcast reviews help us out tremendously.
Like and subscribe. Leave an Apple review. Join us on Twitter. Support us on Patreon. That's a lot of instructions. Don't forget to say thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.